Legendary comedic actor Jerry Lewis achieved a lot in his career before passing away in 2017 at age 91. But the star's incredible success on the screen and stage sadly wasn't mirrored in his personal life. Join FactsVerse as we take a look at Jerry Lewis's sad and lonely life. Jerry Lewis was born on March 16, 1926 in Newark, New Jersey. His father was a vaudeville performer and his mother was a pianist, and young Jerry often accompanied them during their act. However, the two also often left to tour, leaving Jerry alone with other relatives. Because of this, Jerry had a very lonely childhood. Infamously, his parents were said to have missed the young boy's bar mitzvah, which left a devastating impact on his psyche. Jerry's lack of strong paternal influence also caused him to engage in deviant behaviors starting at a young age. He claimed to have lost his virginity to a burlesque dancer when he was only 12. The young boy enjoyed the performance elements of burlesque clubs. By age 15, Jerry had dropped out of high school and was performing comedy at burlesque clubs around the area. Jerry met Dean Martin in 1946. The two instantly hit it off and began performing as a comedic duo. Dean played the straight man, while Jerry goofed off. Together, the two began to make a major impression on audiences around New York City. Eventually, they made their way to films. Over a period of 7 years, Jerry and Dean made 16 films together. Their first was 1949's My Friend Irma, and their final was 1956's Hollywood or Bust. Over the time they were performing as a duo, Jerry and Dean rocketed to stardom. But this stardom started going to their heads, as each one believed they were the reason that Martin and Lewis were successful. Their separation was not amicable, and the two didn't speak to each other for 2 decades afterwards. As legend has it, Dean told Jerry the only reason he worked with him was for the money. This devastated Jerry, who idolized his friend and performance partner. After the separation, both Jerry and Dean maintained successful careers apart from one another. Jerry went on to perform in and direct many classic films, including The Bellboy and The Nutty Professor. Jerry was a perfectionist and was always looking to take his comedic performances to the next level. Sometimes this drive for perfection was beneficial. Other times it had a negative impact on his personal life. He was said to have been unable to wear a pair of socks more than once and had to keep all his money arranged consecutively by serial number and folded up in his pocket. Jerry's drive to impress the audience is what caused the 1965 accident that led to him becoming addicted to painkillers. During a performance on stage, Jerry attempted to do a double cartwheel off a piano. Shockingly, the comedian landed on his back in front of the audience and ended up severely injured. The injury changed Jerry's life forever, and his back never fully recovered. Doctors gave Jerry a prescription to the painkiller Percodan to help alleviate the pain from his injury, and this kicked off a 13-year battle with addiction for the injured actor. And during the period where he was addicted to Percodan, his latent mental issues were exacerbated. Jerry was married to his first wife at the time, and also had several kids. In 1973, under the influence of Percodan, Jerry claimed to have placed a gun into his mouth before deciding not to pull the trigger after hearing his kids playing down the hall. Jerry's addiction to Percodan was also said to have caused another brush with death, when Jerry was found to have been suffering from a stomach ulcer that nearly killed him. Numerous mental health issues plagued Jerry over the course of his life, but he was always afraid to get to the bottom of them. One reason he always declined to exercise his personal demons was that he felt it might prevent him from being as funny. Even if his neuroses and obsessions were a detriment to his personal life, they were useful during performances. As Jerry put it, all the pain he experienced in his life was worth it when it melted away on stage. Sadly, his demons weren't always funny. This truth could be seen in the failures of his relationships with his first wife and children, and also in the notorious 1972 film The Day the Clown Cried. Directed by, written by, and starring Jerry himself, the film told the story of a circus clown tasked with leading children to their deaths in a concentration camp. Understandably, the film's premise drew a great deal of controversy, and it was never released. Before his death, he gave the only existing copy of the film to the U.S. Library of Congress. Apparently, there are plans to eventually make the film public sometime after 2024. One person who has seen The Day the Clown Cried is Harry Shearer, a comedic actor who idolized Jerry while he was growing up. According to Harry, the film deserves its notorious reputation. Hey, if you're enjoying this video so far, be sure to give it a like and subscribe to FactsVerse for more. Jerry Lewis was only 18 years old when he met his first wife. His first wife was Patty Palmer, a woman who worked around the same clubs as he did in New York City. The two were married within 2 months of meeting. Despite the fact they had numerous children together and were married for many decades, it has since become apparent Jerry was far from a good husband to his first wife. According to the late comedian himself, he would take the opportunity to sleep with any other woman who would have him early on in his marriage. One of the many women Jerry was said to have had an affair with during his marriage to Patty was Marilyn Monroe. The two had a romantic fling that apparently didn't end too well, as it caused Jerry to turn down a role he was offered in the 1959 comedy Some Like It Hot. He turned it down because he didn't want to have to work with Marilyn, and recommended fellow comedic actor Jack Lemmon instead. The film was a major success for Jack, garnering him an Academy Award nomination. He was said to have sent Jerry a box of chocolates every year following the film's release. Jerry and Patty had 6 sons, and their names were Anthony, Scotty, Chris, Gary, Ronnie, and Joseph. In the years following their divorce, Patty and all of her 6 sons came forward with allegations that Jerry had been an incredibly abusive husband and father figure. Joseph died at age 45 as a result of a drug overdose, and Jerry refused to pay for his son's funeral. Gary blamed Joseph's death on his relationship with his father and the abuse he had suffered at his hands. Jerry himself claimed later on he felt a great deal of guilt after Joseph's death, but the pain went away whenever he was on stage. There's always been an element of escapism to Jerry's comedy, as the actor used it as therapy to vent his own neuroses. Jerry once claimed he made a career of doing things that children would get in trouble for doing in class. Perhaps this is what kept Jerry from retiring in his later years, even as his health began failing. Jerry stayed married to Patty until 1980. After their divorce, he married a stripper named Sandy Pitnick in 1983. Though the two never had children, they adopted a daughter named Danielle. During his later years, Jerry became known for his charitable work with the Muscular Dystrophy Association. He hosted numerous telethons for the organization that proved incredibly profitable. But the Muscular Dystrophy Association distanced itself from Jerry for undisclosed reasons in 2010. In addition to his numerous health problems, he also suffered from many physical health problems over the years. Many of these stemmed from his 1965 double backflip injury, while others were separate issues. He suffered from type 1 diabetes as well as multiple heart attacks during his life. His first occurred during the filming of 1960's Cinderfella. In the 90s, he began going through prednisone treatment to help with his pulmonary fibrosis. It caused him to gain a good deal of weight and drastically altered his appearance. Jerry died August 20th, 2017. He was 91. Jerry left his estate to his second wife and adopted daughter, and made special care to leave out his first wife, the sons they'd had together, and any of their relatives. Now it's time to hear from you. Comment down below to share what your favorite Jerry Lewis movie is. And before you go, be sure to give this video a like and subscribe to Factsverse if you haven't already. Click the bell icon to stay updated on all our latest content.